Good morning, High Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Paradise Hills.
Good morning.
What'd you think about the World Series? It's like going to a movie, you know, we can all go see the same movie, but we may all have a different experience, right? Kind of like life sometimes. We can go to the same ball game, we can go to the same movie and then have a different experience. I had known Peter Uberoff before he became the commissioner of the baseball league, and he was the president of the 1984 Olympics, where I know some of the folks in the community, we were there at the same time, we just didn't know it. And so Peter Uberoff, I got to know him as I helped do some PR and marketing for the Olympics. And a family friend, come to find out, had dated him. Her name was Lee Soch. Soch really wasn't her last name, but she was really gregarious. Our family just called her Lee Soch. And she was a travel agent, and she'd had this couple come to her and say, hey, we want to have our honeymoon in Hawaii. And this was when I lived in California. And she said, well, sure, I can do that. I can get you the best ticket, I can get you the best experience, the best flight. And they said, well, we like a non-stop flight. She says, I sure hope so. And our topic today is, thank God I'm alive. And we can take that with us to know that we're all on some kind of flight to somewhere. We're at some kind of ball game having that same experience, or at that same movie having whatever experience we're having. And so as I know my life is lived in a spiritual way, I think the highest attitude that we can give is our gratitude. And we're in a month of gratitude. It is the season. And didn't that extra hour feel good? Yeah, what did you do with your extra hour? Go ahead and turn to someone, would you, on your right or your left, maybe not at the same time. But turn to someone and say what you did with your extra hour. Would you just take a moment? Love people. I got to love people with my extra hour, and to be in that sweet spot, to stay in the sweet spot of life in gratitude. So it'd be great if we can have that extra hour, that extra heartfelt place where we know that whatever's essential to the soul, whatever's essential to our mind and our heart is already there, and to be in constant recognition of that. To know that we live, move, and have our being, and to stay in the sweet spot of life. Dr. Emmett Miller, who's a psychoneuroimmunologist, say that 5 times fast. I participated in some of his stress relief meditations, and when I was a competitive swimmer, it would be to help me achieve a goal and whatever that was, and that energy that was flowing, and to fine-tune and to hone into those skills and capabilities. What he says is that I can complain that rose bushes have thorns, or I can be grateful that some thorn bushes have roses. Yeah. So those two attitudes are really equivalent, and it's our choice. It makes a huge difference from where we choose. Am I feeling gratitude, or maybe in some areas of my life I may feel ripped off, whether it might be in the way I wake up in the morning in an area of health, or whatever, I stretched too much in yoga the previous day, or whatever that was, or it could be that the glass may feel a little bit half empty instead of half full. But we know that the glass is always full. because it's full of water, and even if it's half full, it's full of air. So it's always full. It's always, life is coming up roses, right? And the sweet smell of that. So it's always full. So when we have an image of ourselves in relationship to whatever our world is that portrays gratitude, that portrays appreciation, we can, in essence, get beyond something that may seem helpless in our life, something that may seem powerless, and to move into that place of being powerful. And we're in a year of the power of spiritual living. We're in a year of gratitude. And so if we feel helpless in some area in our life, we may be more likely to have a cold. We may be more likely to have whatever that disease may be, or that powerlessness, or that dissatisfaction, or whatever that failure might be. And as we move from that side to being in health, to being in empowerment, to being in fulfillment, to being in success, we can have those two attitudes of the thorns or the roses, and to know that we are, even grateful people are healing faster. I'm healing quickly and easily and smoothly. To eliminate whatever harmful behavior I may have, and to live with a greater sense of ease. I live with a greater sense of comfort and ease and grace in this gratitude space. That I can be more joyful. That we can continue to realize the richness in our life, the richness of that inner peace, the richness of the health, the richness of that space of being able to do what we want to do whenever we want to do that, and to be even more adequate and complete. In gratitude, I am more adequate. I am enough. I am complete. I am whole in the sense of wholeness and harmony and balance. Our book of the month talks about 365 days of gratitude. And it's by John Kralik. And so it's 365 days of daily acts of gratitude. And he found himself with a failing law practice in Los Angeles. And he'd had a relationship that had ended. He'd had a client who had $140,000 some dollars that had actually transferred the money out of the country after he'd won a case and said, "I'm not paying you." And so he wasn't able to make payroll, and he wasn't able to have things fly like he wanted to fly, and he was really at the bottom of feeling helpless, at feeling despair, at feeling very separated from his oneness. He made a decision to write one thank you note each day. Each day, one thank you note. Just one. Handwritten with like 2 or 3 sentences. We have some big Sharpies too on the way out. Big Sharpies. So just colorful. And what he found was that he added color to his life. And he found that when he was grateful for one thing, it became so much easier to become grateful for the next thing. He was so low that he was on the top of the mountains in Pasadena that he heard a voice, and he didn't know where it came from. But he heard a voice that says, "Until you learn to be grateful for the things you have, you will not receive the things you want." He became even more grateful in his moment to moment, his daily actions that he did, and he prepared. He prepared for what he was doing. As he woke up in the morning, he would have that sense of gratitude. And what happened was he wrote thank you notes every single day throughout the year, 365 days. And by the end of a few months, and of course by the end of the year, what happened was he was receiving back even more thank you notes than he had sent out. He sent a thank you note to the Starbucks server, and she actually cried and says, I've done my best to give people the best experience possible. I've done my best. And no one has ever thanked me. He wrote a thank you note to the person who served him his latte mocha yata latte gata frappe. And so what he did was prepare for that which he was grateful for. He prepared even more fully. Prepared. And what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for in our life? As I remember my life vision with gratitude, I know that I have inner focus and that preparation. I know I have that inner focus. I know that I have the feeling tone. I know I have the energy. I know I have the gratitude. And as I have that inner focus, the gratitude, as I write thank you notes, and sometimes I'm able to write thank you notes even if people sneeze. You know, I'm thank bless you. Thank you. It's okay to just for every single action, every single thing. And I know that when I go on a trip, I pack my bags, I prepare. I print out the ticket or get the mobile ticket, and I prepare for that trip. So did John Kralik. He prepared for that trip out of what his despair was into his gratitude. And as I know that I have some friends who are marathon runners, and they prepare too, they build up endurance. I have some friends who bicycle, they prepare by bicycling. I have folks, even a friend of mine's pregnant, and she's preparing. They're decorating the room, they're picking out all the colors and involving all of that. Preparing for that arrival, as if that baby has already arrived. What are we waiting for? What are we awaiting? Are we preparing for it? Are we awaiting peace? Are we preparing by emptying whatever is unlike peace? Emptying out in an appropriate way. And that could come through morning pages where you get up and write 3 pages in the morning, like some friends of mine do. We've been going over that in some of the foundations classes. It could be you call a friend and empty out whatever that space is to create a new space. It could be you reach out to a neighbor. What are we waiting for in love in our future relationships? What are we preparing for in those relationships? What are we preparing for in our workspace? What are we preparing for? Say if we need new clothes. We have a lot of warm clothes we've been donating this month in our community outreach program. And cleaning out the closets. Cleaning that space out for the newness to move in with gratitude. And in sharing and circulating that which has served us well. We can prepare to reflect on our choices. I was in a waiting room the other day, and there was a magazine I picked up. And what this magazine article said was that the 5 people that we hang around most is what creates our future. Those 5 people that we hang around and love, and who love us. And am I that kind of person who people would want to hang around? Maybe that's the really crucial question. So with whom am I spending my time? Am I spending some quality time with myself? Am I making that time for self-care and extreme self-care and share? Or am I the kind of person who folks want to hang around? And if there's some subtle changes that we want to just make whatever that course correction is, if there's some subtle changes we have on your seat, what we talked about last week is a paradigms. Would you like a new paradigm? So how do I do that? I'd like a new paradigm. I'd like a shift, to shift some gears. There's a paradigms. And on the back of this, like we have usually on the first Sunday of every month, is our affirmation. And in our month of gratitude, I invite us to read this and to have a sense of humor about ourselves and to lighten up and to come from that space of awakening and enlightening and enlivening up. How about if we say our affirmation together? You ready? There is a spirit within me which goes before me and prepares the way, making perfect the way, making immediate and constant and permanent and harmonious Spirit within me is me. And I had this living spirit thing happen with, total and complete dance with the cranes. They were so amazing, and just dancing with these cranes, and to hear what they sound like, to see how they move, and just in this amazing space of having life be a dance. Life is a dance. And as I'm looking forward to going to Bosque del Pace, I heard about this husband and wife that were traveling there, getting ready for the Festival of the Cranes. And they were talking with each other, driving down the freeway. And they were kind of bickering and saying, well, how do you pronounce Bosque del Apache? How do you pronounce that? And so the wife was saying, you pronounce it this way. No, you pronounce it this way. And neither of them really knew Spanish. And the husband says, well, I'm just going to pull into this food restaurant, this fast food restaurant. I know they'll know, because they live here. They've got to know. So they pulled in, and he said to the gal at the fast food restaurant, now, I want you to tell me clearly and slowly, how do you pronounce this place? She says, Burger King. We had Del Taco in the front row. Well, thank God I'm alive. And what we have is places to practice our humor, our lightness, places to practice this place that is clear, this place that we can slow down and appreciate life. And to know that we're in a season of gratitude, that we have some vital practices such as visioning. We'll have a visioning workshop on the 16th with Kamatara Johnson, and yours truly will even go deeper with our life visioning practice. And I invite us, one thank you note, even if it's two. You go to the dollar store, even if it's a 2-liner, 3-liner, and a real stamp. A real stamp. Because email and text has a different connotation, it has a different nature. And much like we're very grateful for that, I'm grateful for all of the roadmap, the charts that people have shared their hearts and their inspiration with. And they really don't mean anything. It's like having a map in our hand, but not having it in, it's like having a map but not having it in our hand, not owning the map. If we want to actually have that in our hearts and our hands, I invite us, and there's some big pens on the prayer request table. Our names are on the bottom of those as far as what inspires us most. And so, like the community outreach, there's people who are already engaged and involved and inspired by that. So I invite you to just, even if it's one spot, I know we all put dots on where our priorities are, but I invite us to have that creative expression and to be grateful in that, and to place our names at the bottom of those maps. So we have a map in our hand, ready to navigate beyond Burger King. So I know that God is absolutely my source, and that we can dance with the cranes. We can absolutely be in constant prayer, like Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Science of Mind, which is a guide for spiritual living. He says that gratitude is one of the chief graces. Chief graces. And he also quotes that we want to be in everything giving thanks. In everything, not just for everything, but giving thanksgiving or thanks living in everything, every single thing that goes on. Give thanks in, not just for. Give thanks in, and have that be one of our chief graces in life. So let's experience this gratitude, even on a deeper, even more soul-nourishing way, and dance with the cranes this month. Let's be in gratitude. Let's have our heart be full in that fullness of life and come from this place of powerfulness. So I invite us to turn within in this powerfulness and to know that there is this place, this chief grace of life. And knowing that there is one life and one power and one presence which just enlivens and awakens and continues to unfold, there is divine unfoldment in this powerful space. It is that which is light, it is that which is love and peacefulness, joy-filledness, and gratitude. So I know that out of this place of gratitude, there is oneness. There is the loving oneness of which I am connected to and unified with. And giving thanks in each and everything. Being inspired, being enlivened by this beautiful place each and every day in these daily acts of gratitude. I know that this is spirit in action. It is the action of spirit, which just is this life force, this one life source. And it is God at the source. And I know that there is this dance which I claim as mine, graceful in flight as I fly, and knowing that there is this heart connection, being in this beloved community, there is that common unity and oneness, and the wholeness and wellness, and that well-being, that space of the one life, of the one power, of the divine. The divine just shines. And I'm grateful, so very grateful, deeply and profoundly grateful for this beautiful life. I give thanks in it, as I move through this day in even more freedom, as I release this word, knowing it is powerful and it is clearly and beautifully done. And so be it, and so it is. Please join in a few minutes of stillness.